It's 2022 and I'm just about to get out of middle school. I'm in 8th grade, it's near the end of the year. I'm worried I'll end up failing the year, but for now, the thought of smoking a few blunts with my friends and playing video games when I get home occupies my mind. I'm walking out with my friend and his girlfriend on this particular day when I make a joke that kind of shocks her. I don't remember exactly what I said, but she then starts pulling on my hair. I tell her to stop, but she's not listening to me, so I try punching her in the stomach. She doesn't move. I just tried hitting a 5'4" girl in the stomach, and she didn't even budge. She lets go of me right after, and then me and my friend walk her down a few more blocks before turning around and walking back to my house so we could vape and eventually smoke that same night. This was the first moment in my life where I was truly forced to consider my own weakness, my own lack of strength. I remember it was during these times, like 2018 to 2022, where I was so weak I physically struggled to cut thicker meats like steak. I had always been a very lanky kid, but I had never really cared because all the media I was consuming online was telling me that women found that attractive, that if anyone told me to get bigger, that they were body shaming me, and that I should take pride in who I am. I accepted this rhetoric, not out of genuine agreement, but out of fear and complacency. I didn't want to consider that I had untapped potential within me. Instead, I wanted to stay as I was whilst daydreaming about being the people who did put in the hard work. Sometime later, I had a friend who was talking to me about going to this fight club type thing, where we'd basically get a bunch of people from our school and have them fight each other. Even though I don't really say it much, this was the first reason that I started considering working out. I wanted to go fight, but I had just tried hitting a 5'4" girl in the stomach and she didn't even budge. I knew I needed to get stronger if I wanted to have any chance. The event never happened, but I decided that I needed to get in the gym, become disciplined, and get bigger if I wanted to see any sort of improvement in my life. The thing is, I didn't really know what to do. I had some idea. I knew I needed to eat more, train intense, sleep well, all that. But in regards to the type of training, the purpose for training, refining the workout schedules, and etc., I was pretty clueless. The goal of this essay is to teach you how to identify the purpose of your training, how to train properly, some of the fundamentals of training, and so on. In essence, I want to help you achieve that dream physique you've been longing for. There will be multiple sections, and each section is going to be helpful regardless of if you're a beginner or if you've been training for about a year or so. Step 1. Find your core desire. It's very easy to enter with the mindset that you just want to get big, but I'm going to ask that for a moment, you go through the list of the 5 whys and ask yourself if this desire is authentic. When you do this, it's possible it'll look something like this. Why do I want to train? To get big. Why do I want to get big? I want to attract women. Why do I want to attract women? I want to have intercourse with them. Why do I want to have intercourse with them? I want to tell my friends about it so I can have their approval, even though they don't really align with my personality and aren't people who I could call family. Why do I want their approval? I was bullied in elementary school for the majority of my young life and received little acknowledgement from the kids around me. So now I have this deeply ingrained desire for approval, even though I know the people I desire approval from don't even know my first name. If you don't do this, you're going to find yourself disappointed in your own training. Let's say you're a beginner and you want to prioritize muscle size, but your friend keeps pushing you towards athleticism workouts. You're a beginner, so you take his advice and you move to a more performance-based routine. After a few months, possibly even less, however, you start to feel a bit sad when looking in the mirror and when looking back at your own progress. Even if you won't consciously admit this to yourself, you'll know why this is deep down. It's because you're not training in accordance to what you want to see in yourself. You're training for the results other people want to see in you. This can apply for any type of training. The point is, if you don't train along the confines of your own core desire, the results you see won't be the ones you want. You could use the 5 whys again, but it's far more efficient to spend a few weeks introspecting on what it is that you want by writing in your journal and experimenting with different routines. Think to yourself with full honesty what it is that drives you to work out. Is it muscle size? Is it performance? Do you want to run long distances? Do you want to run short distances but at high speeds? Do you want maximum strength output? These questions will help you form the routine that is specifically tailored towards your own core desire, and ultimately, it will lead you towards actually enjoying your workouts. Here's the first actionable step of the video. Open your notes app or write in a journal your workout split. Keep in mind, none of this is final, so don't stress over it too much, but try to figure out what movements are necessary for your specific goals. For example, if you're training to be a climber, do dead hangs, pull-ups, and core exercises as those are the necessary movements for achieving the goal of actually climbing. From there, continue experimenting and optimizing the routine so that it stays consistent with your goals. Step 2. Diet and diet scheduling. Apart from finding the core desire of your training, diet is the most important part of your fitness journey. If you don't feed yourself accordingly, you won't see any progress. If you do see progress, a poor diet will reduce that progress to a mere fraction of what you're capable of. I'll go over dieting for skinny, underweight guys as well as fat, overweight guys. If you're underweight, you need to enter what's called a bulk or a calorie surplus. Bulking essentially means consuming more food than you're burning off. So, if you're burning off 1,000 calories with every workout, you'll need to consume 1,200 to 1,500 calories in order to actually gain weight. For overweight guys, the opposite is true. Since your body's already stored up excess protein and fat, you need to enter a cut or a calorie deficit. This is the exact opposite of bulking. Instead of consuming more calories than what you're burning off, you consume less than what you're burning off. This will cause your body to begin extracting proteins, vitamins, and etc. from the body fat that's already present, and thus you will lose weight and fat. Regarding the bulk, you may have heard the terms dirty bulking and clean bulking from online gurus, discussions in the gym, or your friend/friend group. Clean and dirty bulking are terms that refer to the methods of achieving weight gain. Dirty bulking means eating any type of food, no matter the nutritional content, in order to gain weight. Dirty bulk supporters say that all calories are the same and that eating McDonald's, ice cream, and junk food is the same thing as eating meats, vegetables, and fruit, as either way you're gaining weight. Clean bulk supporters argue that no, all calories are not the same, and that you should be eating nutritionally and in high amounts in order to gain weight, feel better, and improve your organ health, brain health, and etc. Dirty bulking in comparison with clean bulking has been shown to show similar results in muscular development, both in strength and in size, only with the added negative effects of high risk of heart disease, high percentage of fat gained, etc. It goes without saying that when you're trying to bulk, you need to do it the clean way. Otherwise, not only are you going to gain more fat, but you're going to feel like shit. If you're eating junk food all day, such as high sugar foods, or if you're eating things that aren't nutritionally dense in anything, you are going to experience some, if not all, of the following: loss of focus, loss of energy, increased brain fog, almost as if there's a weight stuck inside of your skull, decreased strength output due to loss of energy, less motivation, and even things like ED or trouble getting hard. These effects compounded result in lower self-esteem throughout the day, and if prolonged for enough time, depression. A poor diet can, without exaggeration, ruin your life simply by killing your cognitive strength. This is why we see people binge eating so often nowadays in the age of industrialization. Food industries purposely create high sugar addictive foods that kill your hormones and health because they know the average person cannot resist them. There's a channel linked in the description called Fitness Talent, and he does videos ranking foods based on their nutritional content and goes into some of the benefits and risks to each food. If you're just starting to organize your diet, I believe you're going to find some of his videos very useful. The foods you need to be eating should be organic, nutritionally dense, and single ingredient. This means that for things like protein intake, you'll be eating beans, eggs, lentils, chicken, fish, steak, lean meats in general, as well as a few other sources like dairy. For carbohydrates, you need to consume things like sweet potatoes, brown rice, quinoa, things of that nature. Cook with coconut oil, avocado oil, beef tallow. Dress your foods in olive oil. To simplify, all the foods you consume should be 100% natural. Protein intake should be 0.7 to 1.2 grams per pound of body weight. So every 200 pounds, 140 to 240 grams of protein will be enough to cover strength and muscular development. This does not apply if you're overweight. The protein required is in lesser amounts if you're overweight, since your body has already stored up extra protein and will extract nutrients from fat. Now that you know what to eat, you need to know when to eat it. It sounds absurd, but oftentimes we either eat too little or we eat in an already fed state. Therefore, aside from caloric intake and nutritional density, we need to eat within a specific time range. Here, we introduce intermittent fasting. Regardless of if you're trying to gain or lose weight, you need to intermittent fast for both the mental and bodily health benefits. The schedule I recommend is this: wake up early in the morning, fast until 12 p.m., break the fast at 12 p.m., eating more or less in accordance to what your goals are, and continue to fast until 7 to 8 p.m., where you'll eat a little lighter or a little heavier, again, depending on what your goals are. At 12 p.m., eat only animal product and maybe vegetables, and save your carbohydrates for the night. If you eat your carbs in the middle of the day, you're going to experience a carb crash, and you'll feel lethargic and quite heavy. When you first begin fasting, it'll feel awkward and pretty difficult for the first few days, maybe the first week, but after the month is over and you've consistently fasted, it'll feel a lot more natural. Your focus is the area of improvement that'll be the most noticeable, but in general, you'll feel a lot lighter and a lot quicker, so to speak. Here, I'll give 2 actionable steps. Right now, open a journal and start writing down your fasting schedule. If you don't have time to cook, pick a day on the weekend to make a bunch of food so that you already have meals prepared for the following week. The schedule you make for fasting won't differ at all from the one I gave you, unless your schedule needs to be changed for work or whatever else. But it's important to write this stuff down so that you have something physical to hold you accountable. It's a lot harder to disobey your own rules when they stare you in the face every day, reminding you that they exist. Begin making a list of organic meats, vegetables, and ingredients that you need to buy more of, and begin disposing of foods that are processed. When you're watching this, you're going to feel motivated and ready to make change. Although I talk about stoicism and how you shouldn't let your desires control you, let that motivation drag you to the kitchen and throw away that processed food right now. I don't just mean throw the package away. Unpack the food and throw the food directly in the trash so you can't cope and say, well, technically, the food didn't touch anything, so I can still eat it. When we go about trying to make change in our lives, and in our diets especially, we need to be able to cut out the filler or fluff that's not adding anything positive to our condition. Step 3, build the base. It's possible you've heard some buff old head give you this advice when you say you want to get into body weight fitness, for example. Building the base essentially means that before you get to do all those fancy movements, you need to build basic strength. It sounds self-explanatory, but building the base means doing those basic hypertrophy exercises before moving on to the calisthenics and powerlifting and whatever else. Exercises like leg extensions, bicep curls, tricep pull downs, push-ups, assisted dips, assisted pull-ups, squats, bench press, and etc. are going to build that fundamental strength, so to speak. This strength will transition into the future more complicated movements such as snatches, dumbbell chest press, muscle ups, and etc. Of course, some of the fundamental exercises will still be a part of your routine, but the point is that during the beginner phase, your workouts should be centered around the building of muscle. During this phase, you'll also get accustomed to the proper form for exercises, shortening the routine to be as efficient as possible, how to organize your routine, and etc. This phase will usually last for a few months, roughly 4 to 6, but it can be shorter or longer depending on how fast you get accustomed to your training and or what you're training for. For example, a base period may extend for longer amounts of time if you're training for athleticism. It may be shorter if the goal is simply hypertrophy and nothing else. Step 3.5, struggles of the beginner. It isn't unlikely that you'll experience a sense of frustration when first starting out. There are frustrations that can be fixed through improving your sleep schedule and diet, such as performance. Confusion with your workout schedule can be fixed through finding the core desire and following those steps. But by far, the most common frustration amongst beginners is a lack of progress. They're 4 to 5 months in and not seeing much progress, or at the very least, they're not seeing the progress they wish to be seeing. More often than not, this leads people to give up trying on their fitness journey. Thus, they sink back into their old habits and get stuck in the seemingly perpetual cycle of being out of shape, trying to get in shape, giving up, being even more out of shape than before, and so on. Remember when you start, you're in the prologue stage of your fitness. To expect massive gains and progress is foolish, and you're setting yourself up for failure. When you begin working out, always remember that your frustration will blow over as long as you continue to work towards optimizing your workout schedules and you remain patient. Once you start rushing, you fall 3 steps back after taking 1 step forward. To simplify, remain patient. Keep trying. Introspect on where these frustrations are coming from, when they appear, and what you can do to solve them. Step 4, self-mastery. In order to make sure everything stays consistent and continues to make progress, your diet, your sleep schedule, your attendance at the gym, etc., you must learn to master 2 key aspects of yourself: willpower and discipline. Willpower is the ability to resist doing something even when you feel like doing it. Discipline is the exact opposite, doing something even when you don't feel like doing it. These two skills will save you years of your life, and I honestly believe that this is the most important section within this entire essay. People often have a misconception of what discipline is. Discipline is not simply going to the gym, eating above your calorie count to gain weight, or sleeping early. You're only using your discipline if you do these things without wanting to. So when you go to the gym full of energy and wanting to go there, you're not using your discipline. It is only when you don't want to do these things that you can consider yourself disciplined. When looking to build discipline, you must be actively seeking out uncomfortable tasks that you don't want to do. If this task happens to be the gym, focus on that. But once you've become used to this task and you've begun enjoying your routine, that's when it's time to increase the difficulty. Start adding extra aspects to your workout routine, such as stretching or more cardio. Once you become used to those things, aim to do your workouts quicker and with better form. Once you've done those things, look to get in the gym earlier, possibly in the morning as soon as you wake up. These are ways to increase the discipline needed for one specific task, which is going to the gym. You can and should take this upscaling of discipline to the rest of your life. Your sleep schedule, your diet, your meditation, your journaling, etc. Look to make these things harder for yourself. It sounds like torture, but we're actually unhappier if we don't do these things. Having self-control, having the ability to enter deep focus, being able to do what other people don't want to do, and etc. all make us happy because productivity and motion as an action towards goals we want to achieve, goals we genuinely believe in, results in happiness and fulfillment. Building willpower is somewhat similar, with the only difference being that now, instead of forcing yourself to do the undesired, you're resisting the things you want to do. This doesn't mean you should make your life undesirable. You should still be working towards and doing things that you believe in. But when it comes to temptations, you need to be able to resist. Without willpower, the results of your discipline will be negated by a lack of self-control. To start building willpower, you must first outline the main things that tempt you on a daily basis. Grab a piece of paper or anything else to write on and ask yourself, what could I live without? If you come across a certain item and you instantly start making excuses, or if you skip an item entirely, that might be your temptation. A more secure way of determining this is if you've recently been indulging too much in something. This can be things like food, entertainment, even things like your emotions, indulging in sadness, anger, pleasure, etc. Let's say the object that tempts you is sugar. What I'm about to suggest will seem contradictory, but grab a sugary item and place it right in front of your desk or wherever you spend the majority of your day. Train yourself to see this item, feel tempted by it, and resist it. Over time, it'll get easier and easier, and eventually, it'll feel like you don't even need it anymore. Become stoic. Always keep your indulgences in mind and practice resisting them every day. Once you plateau and you've become used to resisting that specific craving, move on to the next temptation. For example, I was previously resisting junk food. I then went on to resisting processed foods in general. I then went to the point where I'm at now, where I'm resisting bread and sugary fruit. If you've reached the stage where now the cravings you're resisting are natural foods or things that can be pretty beneficial for you, you don't need to quit them forever. However, don't make the mistake of applying this logic for high sugar foods, junk food, processed foods, etc. Those things are solely for indulging. They're going to hamper your progress. Self-mastery involves a lot of self-introspection. If you don't frequently remind yourself of what you're doing, for what purpose, and if you're staying true to your ideals, you'll make significantly less progress and find yourself stuck during many periods, as you're failing to pinpoint where exactly you're coming short and where you're improving. To solve this, journal and meditate. A lot. Every night to be specific. You don't need to journal a ton. Usually, a page or two will do the job just fine. Of course, write as much as you feel necessary, but don't overexert yourself trying to fit in a bunch of unnecessary details. Instead, focus on the main aspects of the day. For example, if you fail to adhere to your fasting schedule, spend your journaling trying to figure out why. Secondly, meditation. Meditation is easy enough, you just gotta try it. There's very little you can do in regards to preparing for meditation other than clearing up your environment and looking up the different types of meditation. Other than that, you've just gotta show up. Pick one thing to focus on, such as the feeling of your breath, the sound of your breath, the feeling of your feet on the ground, etc., and try to stay focused on it for 2 to 5 minutes. You can then keep increasing the duration or pick something harder to focus on, such as presence, or the sound of wind to increase the challenge. As stated previously, the skill of discipline and willpower can literally save you decades of your life. In the description, I'll leave links to 2 videos created by a YouTuber named Hamza. You've most definitely heard about him if you've been on self-improvement for a while. These 2 videos are 2 to 4 hours in length each and are detailed guides on how to build the skills of discipline and willpower. They're quite long, so watch them on the weekend or over the course of multiple days. Secondly, set an alarm for 8:30 p.m. or anytime around 9 p.m. When that timer rings, immediately head to your room. Open a journal, write down something that's important to your self-improvement, such as where you can start being more disciplined, and meditate for 3 to 5 minutes right after, focusing on either the feeling of your breath or the sound of your breath. It's important that you journal before meditating, as at least in my experience, your mind is more likely to become clouded if there are lingering, unresolved mental conflicts floating around. Step 5, conclusion. Many people will avoid telling you this as it's a pretty unattractive answer, but the reality is that the majority of your progress comes from your diet more than your workouts. Of course, working in the correct rep ranges, getting the correct amount of sleep, and etc. are all core aspects of your training. But it does not matter what you do. If you ignore your diet, the results you see will be mediocre at best. Focus on your eating habits first, as it is the key to seeing progress in your fitness journey. Diet, build a base, and optimize your routine as you continue. With that, I believe I'm able to conclude this essay. Thank you all for watching. Give me your criticisms. Tell me if this advice has worked for you. And I'll see you guys in the next video.